What's going on YouTube? In this video, we're going to talk about healthcare recruiting. What's going on YouTube family? Hey guys, thank you so much for checking out my YouTube channel and another one of my YouTube videos. I really appreciate all of you guys liking, subscribing, commenting, and sharing my videos lately. It's truly appreciated, and I absolutely love all of you guys for doing that. So as you might be aware, healthcare is an incredibly popular niche, especially among startup recruiters. In fact, if you do the research year after year after year, it definitely tops the top 5 list of the most in-demand niches in the country. And if you think about it, that pretty much makes sense because I'm pretty sure we're all human beings and we definitely need our health taken care of. So that adds up. So as part of my series called Explain That Niche, I thought I would dive right into healthcare as a video because it's just such a popular and prevalent niche these days. So many people are involved in it, so many people are asking about it, and it's so popular for startup. And of course, because this is not my niche in particular, I did a ton of research before doing this video just for you guys. So I think it's only fair that you absolutely just destroy that like button, just destroy the living daylights out of it. I would truly, truly appreciate that. In all seriousness, you're just helping out the YouTube algorithm and sharing this video with more and more people that would like to see this content. And basically, you're just doing a good deed for the day. So pat on the back to you and feel good about yourself. All right, so let's jump right into the video. I first wanted to differentiate healthcare recruiting versus healthcare staffing. I'm pretty sure for most of you, this is pretty cut and dry, but healthcare recruiting generally refers to direct placement, meaning you find a candidate, directly place them with a client, take a finder's fee, take a commission, and you're done, it's over with, and that's it. Healthcare staffing, on the other end, is where you actually W-2 your own employees. You have insurance and you have all sorts of policies related to those employees, and then you farm them out to various clients, whether it be hospitals, medical facilities, you name it. We'll get into that kind of later, but that's healthcare staffing, and you are actually responsible for paying these employees rather than the direct hire model where it's sort of a one and done. You collect your fee and it's over. Now, on top of those two business models, you can actually get as complicated as you want within the healthcare niche. What I mean exactly by that is that healthcare has so many different types of positions for you to fill that it's essentially an endless void of opportunity for a recruiter. That is, of course, if you know what you're doing, and I will touch on that later. So just starting from the top down, you have specialty physicians, regular physicians, psychiatric practitioners of various types, nurses, including registered nurses and LPNs. You also have phlebotomists, which are basically lab technicians that take your blood, do lab work, stuff like that. And you have CNAs, which are certified nursing assistants. Now, just to be crystal clear, I want you to understand that there are so many different variations within that list that I just even mentioned above. So I really don't want to overcomplicate things. I just want to get across the point that healthcare has a massive depth to it, and there are so many variations of different titles, roles, positions that you can fill. Now, as we all know, there are some niches that are pretty straightforward, such as a warehouse guy or someone that's doing logistics, right? These are relatively simple positions, and they don't require too much of a learning curve. Healthcare is definitely one of those niches that requires a learning curve for the recruiter. Just for example's sake, you definitely need to know the difference between an RN, an LPN, and a CNA before you start signing contracts you have no business signing yet. Again, to be explicitly clear to those of you considering healthcare as your niche, it is not a low-hanging fruit niche. So who's the actual client in healthcare? First off, we need to figure out who that is, and then we need to figure out the decision maker. Then we can get contracts signed, and ultimately we can get fees fulfilled and get paid. So the answer to that question is pretty much any company or medical facility or hospital that provides healthcare. So that is your client. So anywhere that healthcare is provided is pretty much going to be a client of yours if you're niching in healthcare. And as I mentioned, that could be a humongous hospital down to a very small solo practitioner, small medical office. I definitely think it's very much worth circling back to the staffing versus direct hire placement conversation regarding healthcare as a niche. Now, in healthcare, based on all of my research and everything I know talking to many recruiters, healthcare is mainly a staffing business, meaning you pay your employees and you payroll them, handle the back office, and it's a staffing model rather than a direct placement model. The reason for this is the fluctuation of the actual industry itself. So the actual fluctuation of sick patients versus healthy patients and not patients and that sort of thing. So less people being sick requires less healthcare workers. More people being sick requires more healthcare workers. So as you can see, it's set up to be very fluctuating and elastic. So therefore, the staffing model works much better for healthcare as a niche. Now, this absolutely has some implications for you specifically if you're considering healthcare as your niche. So number one, if you're considering healthcare as a niche, you had better have the capital on hand to start paying CNAs, nurses, phlebotomists, whoever it is that you're filling. And I can tell you right now, nurses make a pretty penny. So if you don't have that cash on hand, you had better find someone that does. If you are seriously considering jumping into healthcare staffing, absolutely don't hesitate to PM me. I do have connections specifically for funding and back office so that you can get a healthcare staffing business off of the ground and it can be your niche. Number two, you need to know your stuff. Listen, this industry has so many different intricacies, but I'm just going to touch on one piece here. The healthcare staffing niche requires that you have a really solid insurance policy. After all, you're looking after employees of yours that are nurses. The last thing you want to deal with is healthcare bills because of healthcare staffing. All right, so one of the best questions of all, how much money is there to be made in healthcare as a niche? Well, frankly, it depends on which business model you are using, direct hire placement or healthcare staffing. And it also depends specifically on which positions you are placing. Pretty much like any other niche, if you're placing for higher tier roles, you're definitely gonna make more money than if you're placing for lower tier roles, such as CNAs or phlebotomists. Now, with that said, you can definitely be placing a high volume of CNAs at a lower fee. So high volume, low fee, you can basically make up the difference and still make a ton of money. You don't exactly need to be hiring brain surgeons. So overall, my assessment is in healthcare as a niche, you get out of it what you put into it, just like everything else. I think there's tons of opportunity in the niche itself. There's definitely a learning curve. It's not as easy as you probably think. So I think you should study up a little bit more before you jump right in. You definitely need funding if you're going to do staffing. If you're going to go direct, it's going to be a little bit more difficult than other niches. That's my assessment, and that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. I most definitely hope that this episode of Explain That Niche was valuable for you and you learned a thing or two. If so, please don't forget to smash that like button, hit the subscribe button as well as the alert button so that you know every single time I come out with a brand new video. Until then.